This is Global Tel Link. You have a prepaid call from
Jesse NAVA.
an inmate at the Centinela State Prison, Centinela, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Hello,
Nope.
Jesse.
Yeah.
Hey, how are you doing tonight?
All right. Yourself?
I can't complain. I just want to go ahead and first thank you, for taking time out of your night and tapping in with us and calling in.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. I appreciate it again. I appreciate the opportunity, and I enjoy our little verbal ping pong,
Yeah, absolutely. And today, I want to do something a little bit different. I guess not different, but I kind of well, we came up with like a name for I would say for this for this topic, I guess it would be dialogue with a dropout, with no disrespect, and it says it's gonna be Sunday Night Live dialogue with a dropout, and pretty much like like we've been doing, talking about topics and whatnot. We went through your story, and for anybody that wants to check out Jesse's stories, just look under the playlist, and we got from when he was a kid and all the way to where he's at now in his life in prison. And with today, um, I want to talk about the last time we had a conversation. I was kind of like I was going through the things I was doing when I was younger and whatnot, and how the last time I went to county jail, I decided that was it. That was pretty much it. I was like done with it. I didn't want to put myself in any more situations like that. So pretty much I just ended up I stopped doing graffiti. And then you had asked me like if I still maintain like this my same friends, and yeah, I did. I maintained the same friends. The only thing that I did, well, obviously I stopped doing graffiti, and because that was those were most of my arrests were from graffiti. I was never involved in any type of anything major in any type of gang banging or linked up with anybody like that. Most of
This
my
call
stuff.
and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Most of the things I was just doing were petty stuff like shoplifting and graffiti and trespassing and things of that nature. But the last time I went to
So
county,
real quick,
yeah, go ahead.
real, real quick, I just wanted to ask you a question before I forget it because it'll mess around and slip my mind. So you said you were just basically hitting up and stuff like that. So what if another tagger would have came along and whacked your pieces out? How would that have made you feel?
Oh man, I gotta go. I had to go slash other stuff out. And then obviously
Oh,
what it would escalate from there, depending on the individual and the caliber that you were dealing with. Some people would let it slide, and some dudes would bring that violence. Dudes were carrying hammers around, pepper spray, screwdrivers, knives, guns. There was that element. Even if I wasn't with that type of activities, it wouldn't mean that somebody else wouldn't bring that type of action to me.
oh, okay. Yes, that's all. Because that's the reason I asked that because you had said, you weren't with the gang or clicked up, but most taggers are usually with the crew and they tend to have other taggers that tend they're offended by certain taggers and other taggers they aren't. I don't really know the ins and outs completely, but I know some of the taggers that I knew eventually ended up becoming tag bangers because they were more basically because the pelo got so intense that they basically got more of a gangster mentality than a tagger mentality. So I was just asking, like, in your situation, how did you avoid the violence, so much especially in LA, you know what I mean? Because LA is really where a lot of the tag bangers come out of, because it's a lot of stuff going on over there, a lot of other gangs, and a lot of times the gangs usually end up feeling offended because taggers are heating up in their barrio or just in different places, you know what I mean? So I was just wondering, like, how were you able to avoid running into wrecks with like other crews or other gangsters and stuff?
Um, well, I can't say I avoided them because I myself was stabbed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I did get stabbed, And you're right. Yeah, no, like a lot of the times, if you were involved in things like that, you were somehow connected, whether it was another, another gang, other tagging crews, or party crews, or just crews in general. I know some of my homies, they had half one, you had one foot in graffiti, and they had another foot in gang banging. So even if you chose not, not to partake in that, it would still come to you. And I remember this one time that I think I mentioned to you that time that I was chasing that dude around with that brick at the gasoline station.
Right.
Okay, so
Right.
so so that day, a few hours later, we ended up catching them dudes again. But then, when we had the encounter, I had some of my other homies with me. They're a little bit more perplexed to to commit violent acts, if you will.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that day, all I could say, it ended up getting really, really ugly. And the police were there, and two dudes ended up, leaving in the ambulance. And now looking back at that situation, man, that type of situation could have easily ended me up, in CYA. And to be honest with you, I wasn't CYA material. And but luckily, these dudes that this happened to, they didn't tell. They declined to press charges. I guess in the street they kept the slide solid, and my hats off to them, because if they could have easily, told on me, and they could have, pointed me out, and that would have been it. I would have, maybe, possibly I would have, got done my first camp program, or maybe possibly I could have ended up in CYA. And man, the stories I hear now, I'm like, nah, I'm straight on that. But yeah, it was ugly. And so once I stopped doing graffiti, what I ended up replacing that with, I would drink a lot. So on the weekends, when the weekend would come around, and I would link up with my buddies. We would do a lot of drinking, going out and whatnot. But then, uh, what tended to happen a lot was when we would go out, we would get into a lot of altercations. So we had beef with like certain dudes that we would always bump into. We would go to uh, um, like certain nightclubs, or certain bars, or certain places, where those type of people, tend to hang out. And normally there's altercations, like one of them, I know is a hot spot, and that place is dangerous. It's called Nicolas, right there in Whittier. Oh man, that place is cracking right there. Whatever you're looking for, you'll find it right there. Even what you're not looking for, you'll find it there. But so I did, I was drinking a lot. And fortunately, I never got into a wreck as far as a vehicle and whatnot. I did get pulled over a few times, and for whatever reasons, the cops ended up letting me go. Like, they didn't press the issue, or there was times where dudes got assaulted, and the police got involved. And luckily, once again, these dudes didn't tell. Like, they didn't press the issue. So I mean, I could have easily been arrested again, but for whatever reasons, I was able to, pretty much, get a talk to, and went on my way. But a lot of these times, these talks and whatnot would just go in one ear and out the other. And luckily, I never got myself into anything a lot more serious than that.
Right. Right. You were fortunate. You were fortunate enough to get those quebradas, to get those opportunities to kind of like slip through the cracks. You know what I mean? But looking back from where you are today, do you appreciate those opportunities, or you know what I mean? Like, because I know a lot of times we get put in situations and we don't learn nothing from it. But it seems to me like you learn from it. Like in here they teach us that in the lifestyle of addiction, it's the obsession, the compulsion, and the progression. And the progression phase is when we keep getting away with something, we keep doing something, getting away with it. It just starts to progress. Like, oh, it gets easier. We develop this belief, like, oh, I'm not going to get busted, or even if I do get busted, it's nothing. They're going to let me go. So, I mean, fortunately for you, you never got into that progression phase where you just kept getting worse and worse and worse. You didn't become desensitized to the bullshit, you know?
Yeah, no, yeah, and no, no, and I do appreciate those quebradas, because now, I hold a license with the state. And if I would have got caught up with when any of the other stuff, that would have definitely put a roadblock, for me being able to obtain a state with the or license with the state. Now I do. I mean, I normally, you know, I think twice about getting myself involved in anything. For the most part, but there is those times that you just run into you run across the wrong dude, and they tell you something, and it's like a switch, and then like you reflect back, like, damn, like why was I talking like that, like this, why did I let this dude get to me like this. Sometimes, I do have those
Right,
moments, not
right.
that often out here, because I mean, I'm not in LA anymore, so I really don't have to deal with those type of confrontations anymore. And
Oh,
um but but yeah, man, it's just a trip. And then I wanted to bring up, I know you did some time in YA, and I remember this one time that I was in the halls, and there was this kid. He had just got sentenced to YA. I think he had told me, I think he had told me he got sentenced to 5 years for torturing animals. And then, like, I was just like observing this dude, like the way he was talking and whatnot, and I was like, man, this dude's not gonna make it in YA. He's not cut off for way YA. He doesn't know, what's coming his way. I mean, at that age, I knew YA was wild. You would hear the stories that, that the type of things that were going on out there, and I was like, man, like pobrecito, like he like this fool who don't know, like he's in a whole different world. Like he was like a few French fries short of a Happy Meal. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah.
um, but yeah, man, I could just imagine like the torment that they put him through, because uh,
Oh
uh,
yeah, he probably went up. But you know some of those guys though, bro, they go up to YA like that, soft as butter and scary as all hell, and they walk out of there like straight animals. You know what I mean? Like you back the cat against the wall enough times, and ultimately they become the aggressors. You know what I mean? Like, and I've seen that. I've seen that firsthand where like fools go up to YA like just straight up weenies. You know, like straight up like these cats. You know, like the way we seen it back then. Like, oh, this dude's gonna be done, and they get up there, and yeah, for it's rough for them for like a while, but after a while they start to realize that they're not scared to get their ass whooped, or they're not scared to fight anymore, and before you know it, they lose that fear. They become desensitized, like I said, to things like that, and they start fighting. Then they get to a point to where it's like, you know what, rather than being attacked, I'm gonna start attacking people. And I've seen dudes go in there, like I said, straight soft as butter, and walk out of there like savages.
yeah, no, and I could see something like that happen just from all the all the horrific stories I've listened to on YouTube. A lot of people are sharing, and they're sharing like the other things they went through, like Jim TD, and some of the staffs, being straight up predators and taking advantage of certain kids, the weaker ones, and
you know.
that's just bananas. What years were you in YA at, or what years were you in YA?
I got to YA in '98, and I left in 2001.
And it was everything pretty much like in effect, like the firme raza, and what was the
Yeah,
levas
yeah,
and the cases and all that good stuff.
yeah, yeah. Well, like the female raza thing, that came like a little bit later, but it was. I mean, you were female, but like everybody made it like before it was you were just female. You know what I mean? Like, oh, they're full female, but like they connected the raza to it like towards the ass end, and that came out of, like that was like a strong term I was hearing from the little bit younger homies. But it was the same concept though. Like you were either female or you were leva. If you were a case, like the case is just another word for for a punk. Like if you were cased up, that means that means you were basically leva, or you were getting punked. So it was just like I told you before, you either and why it's like if you're cased up, you're either paying rent or you know what I mean. It's sad to say, but I've been in prison with a bunch of dudes that I was in YA with. Like, man, this dude is fagging off in YA. Like what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like now he's right here in the Pinta acting all super feedman when he was in YA acting like a fag. And so like
You have 60 seconds remaining.
because if they're not like if you're getting punked and you're scared to fight, they'll make you a case and they'll make you pay rent. You know what I mean? You're either, whatever your tienda you're getting, if you're not, you'll break off whoever you're under somebody's ally. You're gonna break off whoever that fool is. And if you don't have money to pay, then you know what I mean? Like especially with the Morenos and stuff like that. Like their fools used to do their people bad. But not just their people, but anybody that wasn't under the wing of one of the homies. But yeah, it was pretty. pretty much madness. It was more so, honestly, I can say YA was a lot
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
in the younger kid institutions. You know what I mean? Like where all the youngsters were like real young. Like there was a little more law and order when you got to the older institutions. But I mean, it was still crazy. But when it got off, it got off. But the younger institutions where all the games were being played.
And these dudes that were cased up that you saw in upstate or in the all right, and that call was called off, and apologize. I'm not ignoring the chat or whatnot. I was just getting into that conversation, and I want to go ahead and give a shout out to Mad Max 408, M Star Media, and I'll go ahead and let Jesse know that you send them a shout out. And then let me see, and then it's just you two guys tonight. And then you're asking me about my license. I rather not disclose what type of a license I have, but it is with the state, and normally you can't have anything too serious for them, or pretty much I think with any type of license with the state, you normally can't have anything too crazy on your record, or that might close some doors in front of you. And how are you guys doing tonight? I really appreciate the support. You guys have been in here night after night, and we have a call coming back in.
This is Global Telling. You have a prepaid call from
Jesse NAVA.
an inmate at the Centinela State Prison, Centinela, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Hey Jesse, thank you for calling me back. And we did. They were giving me some shout outs here in the chat from M Star Media is giving you some shout outs. She's been in here like most of our conversations or most of our lives, and Mad Max 408, they're always showing support, and really appreciate that.
That's right. Gracias. Good looking out. Appreciate the support always. Get the message out. Tell your friends about this page.
Yeah. Oh, most definitely. And right now, you said something that piqued my interest. You said some of these dudes that were cased up. You seen them. They were doing certain things in YA, and now you see them. Up in prison. That strikes me as odd. You're being abused in YA, and you would think that you would stop doing bad stuff to end up in these type of places, so you wouldn't be put in those type of situations. These dudes,
Right.
when you saw them, was this on the main line or was this on the other side, or exactly where was it that you ran across these dudes that?
Yeah, no, on the main line. On the main line, like it's most of the time. Like I've only ran into a few dudes that I was in YA with on this side, but I haven't been to any other yards. But here on this side, So, but as far as yeah, I was on the main line. You see a lot of them, and like I said, a lot of them were either predator or prey, one or the other. But yeah, they come in here, and like I said, and any time you would speak up on it's weird because even when we tell the homies like in the county jail, be like, hey man, I was in YA with this fool. This fool, this fool is fagging off, or like, oh hey, that's YA shit. We ain't trying to hear all that. Like, what are you talking about? Like you can't unsuck a dick. What are you talking about? Like, what do you mean I want to hear that? Like. Like not to be rude or because like I said, a lot of these dudes are put into bad situations. Like they, when you're scared, and there's no protective custody in California Youth Authority. That's what people don't understand. Like there is no, Like you're not. There's nowhere for them to put you that you're going to be safe. Like that's why it was such a dangerous place. You either, Like there was no fight or flight. It was either fight or or you were victim. So because there was nowhere to go, there was nowhere to run, there was nowhere to go. The cops aren't going to take you, So it's like they're not going to take you and put you somewhere with other people that are weak like you. They're going to put, if anything, going to move you to another unit with a bunch of other predators. So it just kind of like that's what I'm telling you. Like I've seen dudes that go up to YA, show up in YA like they were soft and get their ass whooped a bunch of times, and because they're they got enough head strength to be like, nah, you're like, I'm not, you know, I'm not gonna be doing no weird shit like that, or I'm not gonna this, or I'm not, you know, but they're just not tough guys either, but they had enough head strength to be like, what, this ain't right, or that ain't right, or, you know what I mean, and before you know it, after you know, after getting their ass whooped enough times, finally they realize like, oh, I may not be a fighter, but I'm not afraid to get my ass whooped either, so. You know, and I've, like I said, I've seen dudes come up out of there straight scrappers, you know, like, and again, like to answer your question, when I've been in county and in prison and stuff like that with some of these dudes, you know, like they just, I'm assuming going through all that stuff, it just fucked them up even more. So much so that they would get out of prison and try to project, you know, try to perpetrate, you know, some of that anger, because you know that whatever's going on with people, you know, whether they're getting their ass whooped or getting their ass took or whatever they had going on with them in YA, you know, it obviously messed them up more than they already were, you know, because YA was full of messed up kids, you know, and so it messed them up obviously more, and then they get out here to these streets and they, you know, they become angry, they become violent, they become drug addicts, you know, they immerse themselves in drugs even more, and so ultimately they just end up in prison. So as much as you would think that it would deter them from wanting to come back, sometimes they you know, they're a prison in their own, like they're imprisoned in their own mind, you know, in their own how would you say it? Yeah, I mean, I guess basically, you know, in their own mind and their own destruction, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, and one of the reasons I wanted to touch on YA was because it was such a brutal place, and I'm assuming you know already, they were supposed to close down YA permanently as of I think of June, or like June 30th of this year, and each county was going to
Right.
be responsible for their own, you know, for their own cases, if you will, like for lack of a better word, and they were gonna be housing all those kids, and I don't think any of these counties were prepared to house any of these kids. So if you had like a say so, or somebody told you, hey Jesse, we know you're in YA, what how can we build a place or run an institution for juveniles where these things are not gonna, you know, take place. You know, what kind of programs could we offer um, to actually, you know, help them, you know, better themselves instead of coming out monsters or even worse.
I think something like that, it would require a lot of analysis. You know what I mean? Like, because the thing about that is like they're like breeding grounds. You know, you put all these gang members, all these kids that are all dysfunctional. Like they would have to be able to classify them better, so that way they could break them up of that pack mentality. You know, like you get a bunch of dudes from the same county, and you put homeboys together, and you put, you know, like, so it just fosters that gang mentality. And I just, like, me and my cellular, me and somebody was talking about it before, that basically, like, it's not good to put a bunch of bad kids in the same place. Like they would have to like be able to like narrow down case factors a little better, so they could put different kinds of troubled kids in different places. You know what I mean? Like, okay, like say you got dudes that have a real bad gang problem right here, and dudes with a real bad drug problem right here. So you're getting a little bit of each group together. So you don't just put all the gang members, like, you know, and that can, why that's what they do. Like everybody would try to get wherever their homeboy was. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, and then you got a bunch of cats in the same neighborhood. So it's like, all right, well now we just in here gang banging. You know, we might not be in the streets in our barrio, but we're right here in this phone pod gang banging, or right here in this unit gang banging. You know, like
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
they would foster that, you know, like the staff would be okay with it, you know. So I think like on the county, on the, you know, the county level or juvenile county level, like they got to have a better process of keeping dudes away from their actual homeboys that are from their gang, you know, like, and like try to keep it. I know it's a little harder in LA, because LA just everybody's enemies, and everybody's, you know, like you're either ally or enemy in LA, so it's kind of a little harder there to try to keep everybody away from each other, because you take a dude away from his homeboys, and now he's a victim to a bunch of his enemies, you know. And so it just kind of it's a rough. That would be a hard. That's going to be a hard task, to be honest with you. But as far as like what they could offer them, if I'm honest with you, like YA actually offered a lot of stuff for kids. You know what I mean? Like if you were willing to take, like if by the time kids got to YA though, they were so far gone that they weren't going to receive anything out of YA. Very few people do I know got something out of YA. Like I don't even want to say very few people that I know. I've seen some kids there doing the right thing. I can't even say that I know who they are. You know what I mean? But they offered a lot of vocations. They offered a lot of education. They offered a lot of counseling. They offered certain stuff. They just weren't serious about it. You know what I mean? It was like, okay, we offer this, but these kids are so messed up that whether they take advantage of it or not, we don't care. Was basically their mindset. And so I think now it would be important for them to approach it with a much more compassionate heart. Like the staff members should be vetted more. Like how you said, the staff would take advantage. I've seen staff go in there and fight with other inmates, other wards, whatever you want to call them. I forget what we used to be calling YA, but I think it was a ward.
Yeah, ward.
But yeah, ward, and literally like staff will go up in there and scrap with you, like you know what I mean, like it ain't no thing, like on a regular. I've seen a bunch of staff, down to fight, like these are kids, fool. Like you feel good about yourself coming in here and fighting with a little kid taking your little utility belt off, But that conditioned us to be like, well then fuck it, we better we better be ready for these dudes, But so I think, like, to answer your question, to go back to your question a little bit, that I think that they definitely have to have a stronger vetting process, because you got to remember, and I've said it several times, like, most of us went to these streets and joined these gangs and stuff because we were missing something at home. We were missing, nurturing from our parents. We were missing love and affection. We were missing sometimes a parent who cared at all, structure, discipline, things like that. So when we got out here to these streets, we're looking for something, and ultimately we found a unit or a family or an entity and a bunch of other kids who were just as dysfunctional as we were, who were looking for the same thing. So
this call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
If they vetted these staff a little better and put like social workers in there, and instead of like officers or counselors or staff, on juvenile hall, and because truth be told, a lot of the staffs in juvenile hall were crazy as hell too. You know what I mean? Like, not just in YA. I dealt with a bunch of crazy staff, but I also dealt with some staff. Like, looking back from where I'm at today, like there were staff in my juvenile hall that were like, man, this is somebody that really cared about me. You know what I mean? Like, this is somebody that made the effort to try to, like, basically be a better person to me. But if she had other coworkers with her, or he had other coworkers with him of the same mind, then I think it would have been a lot easier to connect with these kids, because they're coming in there angry and hurt and coming off of drugs and stuff like that, and they get around a bunch of these nice people in the end, like, because kids aren't naturally evil by nature. You know what I mean? Like, we're not just evil by nature. We basically adapt to our environment. So you get into juvenile hall, and if it seems like it's a dangerous place a little bit, then you become, you adapt to your environment. Where if you got the staff in there and the staff are like showing, hey, we care about you, not just one staff here, one staff there, but a team of staff members who are basically like showing these kids, like, look, man, you're not at your home where whatever you came from is that bad, and I know you don't want to be here, but while we're here, you got people here that care about you, and it just, you deliver the message more with sugar, that I think that's what I think it would boil down to, And again, you're not going to save every kid, because a lot of times by the time, kids get to juvenile hall, they've seen and been through too many things that a little stint in juvenile hall is not going to change it, But I don't think there's going to be a bunch of that many kids going back, because wasn't their plan to release a bunch of the like most of the kids that were left in YA, because they can't keep them past a certain time anymore, right?
You know what? I'm not adding. I haven't really kept up with like the changes like that. All I know was that they were due to be they were going to close it down, and then they were going to be sending whatever kids that were left. That they weren't taking any more kids in after a certain time, and then
Right.
the kids that were remained in there that were not eligible to go home were being sent back to their to juvenile hall. So obviously, I mean, if LA County, I mean, I would assume probably had the most wards in YA. So imagine, I don't know what the numbers are, but let's say they sent back 100 kids, which I don't think is a lot of kids. But where are they going to hold these 100 kids? You can't put them in the regular units. because they're coming in with different maños, like way different maños than with these kids, that haven't been exposed to those YA politics, I guess, for a lack of a better word. Uh, um, so who knows, what they did with them once they came back to the halls.
So trip on this though, right? Like everything that I told you and that you heard about YA, it was all that before. But I will tell you this now though, right? Over the last like 5-10 years, YA is not so much the YA that you and I, or that I was in, or that you've heard about, like. Because I know, some of my little homies that have went, because this is the thing now too though. It's like they didn't send a lot of they're not sending a lot of kids to YA like they used to. I don't know if you knew, but there's only right now when they're closing it, there's only like 2 YAs open. When I was in YA, they had like 10, 15 institutions. You know what I mean? And more. You figure you had like, yeah,
You have 60 seconds remaining.
about 15 institutions, and over the last few years, there was only like maybe 2 or 3 of them open still. Like SRCC, you had Ventura, and you had OH closed. Those are like the only 3 YAs that were left open still right now. So the caliber of kids that they're sending up to YA, they're not as bad, and they haven't. And mind you, before, when they went up there before, they'd stay up there for 6, 7, 8, 10 years. Like they'd go up there at 13, 14 years old and be there till they were 21, 25 years old. And it's not like that anymore. So YA is not as bad. Whatever's going back to LA County and these other counties is going to be nowhere near as bad as it would have been if they were sending these kids back in the old YA days. So just to know that. And another thing is, one of my boys just got out. He's an ex-lifer, right? He just got out a few months ago. Here, I'll call you back when he's going to end.
Okay, all right, I'll be waiting.
All right. All right.
And Daniel Garcia, I just saw your message. I'll go ahead and I'll go ahead and Jesse know what you wrote. And for MStar Media, you were asking about the license. I know in the last 2 years or whatnot, I know they've been making some changes to California as far as how they could disqualify you for certain licenses. And as far as my type of license, it was a lot harder to get before. If you had any type of, give me a moment.
This call is now being
This is
recorded.
Global Tel Link. You have a prepaid call from
Jesse Nava.
an inmate at the Centinela State Prison, Centinela, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Right now, before you start, Jesse, I just want to go ahead and read off some of the supporting comments here. I've been a little bit distracted as far as we're a conversation or not, so I really haven't glanced over at the messages right now when our call hanged up, and went ahead and took a look. So I definitely don't want to ignore these messages, because at the end of the day, we're here for the audience, to help them out and for them to support us. So let me see here. And then, so MStar Media put, we definitely support you, Jesse. And then we have Daniel Garcia. He's Daniel Garcia, and he put, saludos a todos. I'm listening in on your stories to learn from y'all. I'm still learning Los Angeles, as I'm from Laredo, Texas, but raised in Mexico. Okay, yeah, LA is kind of crazy right now. And then let me see what else is here. And then Daniel again, he's putting, thank you. Everything he's saying is real and true. And then Mad Max 408 is putting facts. And then MStar Media had asked about, because how I mentioned I have a license with the state. She was asking me, what kind of license I have. And to be honest with you, I'm not really too comfortable, sharing that, just because not that many people I know have this type of license, so it could kind of narrow it down, and people are gonna figure out, who I am, and I'd rather not be questioned about this. But I know like in the last 2 years, as far as California, they've made some changes as far as the way they could disqualify you from obtaining a license. And I know particularly for my license, and I'm sure this is for other licenses too within the state. If you had your juvenile record sealed, pretty much nobody has access to your juvenile record unless they unseal it because you did something horrific. But as far as job wise, or you get fingerprinted, none of that stuff comes up because I have gotten fingerprinted before and none of my juvenile record comes up. And I did get my juvenile record sealed. And the way I did that was by going down to my local juvenile. I was out of East Lake, and it was pretty simple. You just walk up to at that time it was Department J. I know since then they've changed it over to a different window. You just give me your ID. They'll print out your all your criminal history as a kid, and then normally they would just fill out the paperwork for you. They'll have you sign it, and then they would send you a paper in the mail letting you know when the court appearance is. It's not required to appear, but I highly recommend for you to go because if they have any questions, you could just go ahead and answer it and just take care of it there instead of it getting denied and going back down and starting the process all over again. And then once they agree to seal your record, they pull all your case files, or your PDJ file from all the juvenile halls or from the probation department, and then from what I understand, they destroy them, and it's like it never happened. And I don't know if you guys are familiar, but there was a cop that had gone to YA, and he applied to be a police officer, and he got into the LAPD. I think his last name was Mackey, if I'm not mistaken. I think he got caught for a bank robbery, and I think he ended up ending it all before they took him into custody. Apologize, I digress from that, but I figured I throw that in there. And then as far as your adult record, you could go back to court if you haven't been to prison. If you stayed at the county level, you could go back and get your adult record expunged. Or certain felonies are wobblers, so they could have either tried you as a misdemeanor or a felony.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
If you did get charged for a felony and it was a wobbler, you could petition the court, and then first you would have them reduce it from a felony to a misdemeanor, and then once it gets reduced to a misdemeanor, then you could go ahead and have it expunged, and it'll show that too. And then if you were sentenced to 365 days in county jail, you can actually petition the court. And I think they started this a year or two ago, where you could petition the court and you can actually have your original sentence withdrawn, and then they could change it to 364 days. So, some people just having that extra day does affect you. So, and I've done it too. So that I went down to court. They were a little bit confused because I don't think they had ever dealt with something like that or anybody filing that type of paperwork. And surprisingly, they took care of it on the spot. And a few months later, I ended up getting my court transcripts, and they did change my sentence. So all that stuff, if you go back to court and you put the time in to take care of that, that's definitely going to help you get your notary license. Didn't you mention that you had a notary license, or was that your lady that had a notary license, Jesse?
Yeah, my lady does. I have a paralegal certification, but my wife does that. My wife does notary and she does expungement. She does all any kind of document preparation. Legal documents. She does divorces. She does custodies, guardianships, trusts, wills. She does all that stuff. So yeah, she does notary as well.
Okay, yeah. So hopefully, MStar Media, she was asking about getting her notary license. Hopefully that with the information I was able to provide there, it helps her obtain that. But yeah, I think I know when I was getting my stuff expunged, I think it was running about like $60 or $70. I'm pretty sure it's gone up since then, depending on well, in LA County it's a little bit more expensive. I know other counties have different prices or whatnot. But a lot of the times you could find tutorials on YouTube on how to fill out these forms. Normally I'll try, like a lot of my friends, I push them to either get their juvenile record sealed or get their expungements done. A lot of people really don't care. They really see no value in it. For me, even if it doesn't have value, it's just for me, because somewhere down the line, it might help me out. Maybe there'll be a job that I normally wouldn't be able to get if they were able to see any of this stuff. So far, it hasn't affected me as far as in the job market. Normally, I put that I've never been arrested or nothing like that. You know, I never put any of that on there, and it's never come back. And these are type of jobs where they fingerprint you and things of that nature. So I've never had any issues, and that's the way I proceed. You know, I never disclose any of that, any of my history or whatnot. And then Jesse, I know we were talking about something before the phone call got cut off. Do you want to continue if you remember?
Oh yeah. I was telling you because we were talking about kids coming back to the county level and this and that, and I was telling you that there shouldn't be that many kids coming back just based on there wasn't that many institutions left open, and they were trying to get everybody paroled before, and just a few guys. And they had stopped sending people up like last year, or the year before last, or I think it was last year. They stopped sending people up, so everybody that was there, and they weren't giving you sentences like it was before. Like people that are going to YA now were going to YA for like a year, 2 years, stuff like that. Like they weren't going up there for very long. So it's the caliber of individuals going there. Anybody that was really going for like serious crimes were getting tried as an adult. You know what I mean? So everybody, it's not the same. So YA wasn't filled with that many kids that were that out of control. But what I was telling you is one of my boys, he actually just got out a few months ago. He actually paroled from the Offender Mentor Certification Program, which is the program they have in CDCR, where inmates can actually get certified as drug counselors by the state of California as CADAC or CADI drug counselors. And old boy got out and he hooked up. I don't know if you heard of an organization called ARC, the Anti-Recidivism Coalition.
Yep.
And he was actually so they're the ones that are like they're a big part of the juvenile restorative justice thing right now and dealing with all this transition back to LA County for the juveniles from YA. And so he was a part of that team, actually one of the teams that's actually dealing with all that. And so he was telling me like, hey, dog.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
He was telling me that a lot of the kids that he was dealing with, him and another dude that I knew that was an ex-lifer too. He was here a long time ago. He actually got out about 3 years ago, but he had been down for about 20-something years, and that cat, he's actually the one leading that team, and they're out there at ARC. But he was telling me that he goes a lot of these youngsters. He goes, it's a trip because there's some of them that are they're basically like they're not trying to hear anything because they basically put those guys there to basically be mentors and kind of like help them transition back to society after being in YA, and just kind of like give them some resources and stuff like that. And so they basically he was basically telling me that some of those guys were very few of them were lost causes. He goes, but for the most part, a lot of them were pretty much receptive to anything that these guys were teaching them, and he was like, look, he goes, just think about how we were when we first started changing, like that we were just looking for positive people and somebody just be there like to support us and kind of like help us out. And that was us as grown ass men. He goes, these kids are the same way. Like he goes, it just reminds me of you and other dudes that I was around when we were just turning our lives around and looking for other people to be there, like to kind of show us a different way, because all we knew was this lifestyle and all we knew was how to make poor decisions and stuff like that. So he goes, a lot of these youngsters that we've been dealing with, they're like real receptive, and it just goes to show that it's good to have these organizations to kind of help transition, And so it was a trip because him and another guy actually went to go speak with, I actually have the video on my tablet. I don't remember exactly when it was, but it was a few months ago when he got out, not long after he got out, like 3 weeks after he got out. They had him go speak right there in LA to, I don't know if it's city council or whoever it is that's in charge of appropriating funding for building the new jails and building new juvenile halls, because what they were trying to do is they're trying to appropriate funds to rebuild one of the LA County jails and to rebuild or to build new juvenile halls or new camps right there in LA County. And so what they're doing, ARC is sending a bunch of people down there to explain to them, like, look, you guys don't need to put this money into building more institutions. You guys need to put this money into social justice programs, like things like, instead of building institutions to house people that are messed up, why don't you start putting this money back into these neighborhoods, and to law enforcement and to certain aspects of the neighborhood, so that you can bring down some of the crime rate in some of these neighborhoods, or add resources to some of these neighborhoods, programs, schooling and after school and child care, things like that can help some of these low income communities, and so that way you could basically stop the problem before it starts, and they actually went out there and actually talked to I don't know if it was a city councilor or treasurer. You might know more about that than I would, but they talked. The news was there, and there was all kinds of stuff. So they were trying to basically see if it's like a public opinion or public. Hey, what is it when they're passing a law, David, and they give you the public an opportunity to speak on it?
A public hearing, I think, right?
Yeah, yep. Basically like a public hearing, yeah. And so what they did is they sent all these dudes. So I'm saying all that to say that they're starting to bring attention to it right now. Like they're basically this whole juvenile hall thing or juveniles coming back to LA County because ARC is getting funding for it, to help these kids. And what they're trying to help LA start to realize, like, look, man, like putting money into building institutions, it hasn't worked. You guys been doing that for years and years and years, and it's done nothing for anybody, So why don't you start helping these families and start helping these neighborhoods? So that way a lot of these kids don't end up turning to crime and thinking that that's their only option, And I don't know what ended up becoming of it, but I know my boy actually sent me the video where they had him go speak to the whoever it was, the committee who was dealing with this, and it's a cool little thing,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the only way these things are going to change if if the community gets out there and they put they give feedback and let them know that they should try something else. They've been trying this for the last, I don't know what, 50, 60, 70 years, and obviously it's not working. So maybe it's time for them to try something new.
Right. The punitive justice is out, And don't get me wrong, like I'm not one of them dudes that sit here and says that there doesn't need to be punishment, because that's naive in every sense of the word, But if I'm a perfect example, me and all my friends, the guys who I consider my friends today, like these were some of the worst of the worst.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
If given opportunities to us and seeing what we've been able to do with them and seeing what these guys have been able to do with them and stuff like that, like that's all the proof they need that warehouses, that they call prisons and stuff like that, that's not the way to get this done. Start giving the people opportunities and options, and you'd be surprised. The whole prison culture is changing because they're giving opportunities in prisons now. People are starting to realize that, what, man, maybe the gang route isn't right for me, or maybe being a drug addict, isn't what I want to be doing, or, hey, you know what, man, I don't have to take the easy road and be a criminal because, you know what, I believe in myself because look what I'm doing with school, look what I'm doing with this trade, with this bulk, with, with this responsibility they're giving me, So it definitely, they definitely need to see what's going on. The punitive justice doesn't work, restorative justice is key, but they definitely need to have that carrot there for people.
All right, the call was cut off, and he should give us a call back shortly. And as soon as he comes back right now, go ahead and normally I'll try to ask the questions when the calls are cut off. It's a lot easier to ask them when they come back off instead of just interrupting them. So I'll definitely ask these questions coming up, or if you put any messages for support, I'll go ahead and read them off to him right now when he gets back on the phone. And after this, I think this might be our last phone call. I think Silas is supposed to be calling me at 8:30. So I'll be ending this stream after our next call, and I'll be starting up a new stream. So just feel free to join, if you're interested in listening to what Silas has to say. Normally, we don't plan any of this stuff out. We just, shoot from the hip. And we pretty much just talk about whatever's coming to mind and whatnot after, they've pretty much gone through their story or whatnot. And give me a moment. There he is.
This call is now being recorded.
This is Global Tel-Link. You have a prepaid call from
Jesse NAVA.
an inmate at the Centinela State Prison, Centinela, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel-Link.
All right, Jesse, thank you for calling me back. So right now, I want to mention to you, I should have told you before when we talked the first time, but Silas is supposed to be calling me at 8:30. So this is going to be our last call for the time being. But I also wanted to read out some messages to you before I forget. So M Star Media put awesome Jesse, which was when we were talking a little while back, and then she also put that's super interesting, Jesse. I've been reading a lot about the YA in LA City. And then we have Daniel Garcia. He put, "Thank you, Jesse, for speaking and your time." And then let me see what else we have here. Oh, then we have a new question from a new listener. It's gonna be Ramon, and he's asking, "Do you keep in contact with your other siblings that were separated from you? And if so, where are they now?"
That's crazy. That's crazy that they asked that because literally, bro, just last month, I just within this last month, I've gotten in contact with two of my other brothers that got separated with me. Like, it's crazy that they asked that question because all these years, you know what I mean, that we got separated. I haven't had contact with any of my siblings, you know, and just in this last month, I've been able to get back in contact with two of them, you know. So it's just a trip. Yeah, one of my brothers is actually three of them. One of them's my half brother. He's in prison up right here in California in Avenal. I have another brother that he did a bunch of time here in California, but he's actually in Texas right now working in the solar fields. And then I got another brother that he didn't ever make it past the county jail or nothing like that, but he lives out there in South Carolina. He was living in North Carolina, where I guess I have another sister, a half sister that I didn't even know about. I didn't know that my mom actually had another daughter. You know, I thought that they just had the one daughter, my dad's daughter. You know, I have one sister that I thought that I had that was same mom, same dad, but I guess my mom had another daughter.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
So to answer the question, I have just in this past month have I been able to get in contact with some of my siblings, you know, and I've basically been talking to them over the last month. So it's been a trip, little blast from the past, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's good. You've been able to get in contact with everybody, and he had Ramon also put it that he had been trying to ask you questions, but he's always showing up after, I guess, after we cut off the live. And you know, it's kind of it's on me too, because you know I should be putting up community posts and whatnot to let you guys know when certain people are going to be coming on. But like for Jesse, I think I hit you up last night, right? And then I think I didn't read your reply till the afternoon. So and then too another reason I'm kind of hesitant on putting community posts and letting you guys know beforehand, because what if like they're having an issue with the tablets and they're not able to tap in, and then you know I don't want to let you guys down. You know, you guys are going to be expecting a call back, and I never get that call back, and then it's not cool. So that's another reason why I hesitate when it comes to putting up information as far as when I'm planning to go live or whatnot. But yeah, so
another thing is too, like you said before though, like if any of them ever need to communicate, straight through, want to text or whatever, like don't hesitate to add me to the app, like, or add themselves to my app. I got no problem, corresponding with anybody that has questions or wants to establish dialect on an individual basis or one-on-one basis. I know it's a lot easier through the podcast, because it's not as personal, and I understand that as well, but it's like Ramon, like you said, sometimes we don't always get to schedule the call, and if you got questions you want to ask, like, don't be shy, I'm right here, but I got no problem, communicating with anybody.
That's right. You know what? And I've been kind of I had thought about something that I wanted to actually make a video as far as how to navigate the GTL Getting Out app, and how to locate these gentlemen, and then how to select the prison they're at, because they're in Centinela prison, but for whatever reason it doesn't show up as Centinela. It shows up as California something Centinela. So I wanted to make a video so you guys could kind of, like, if you were having any issues, trying to locate the prison and adding these gentlemen to your GTL app, it'll possibly help you out, and also like drop like direct links to the app. And like Jesse said, yeah, you could go ahead and definitely reach out to them, reach out to them directly through the GTO app. To communicate, it's 5 cents per message, and I think the lowest amount that you're allowed to add in order for you to start messaging is $10. So $10 will definitely go a long way. You could text, send videos, even pictures and whatnot. So it's a pretty cool app. The messages normally tend to go through instantly. They're approved instantly. The pictures or videos, they do sometimes take some time for them to approve them, because I think an actual human needs to verify that they're within department policy. The messages, as long as you don't put in keywords, anything that sets off alarms, then it'll automatically be approved, and it doesn't go through a human. And now, if you put some words that you shouldn't be putting, then it'll definitely take some time for them to get around to it and approve it. And also on the chat right now, I just put a link to the website. It's called gettingout.com. You could also open up an account through your computer or tablet if you don't have a mobile phone, and do it like that. You don't necessarily need to download the app. You could go through a website and go ahead and contact them. All right. So was there anything else on your mind that you wanted to speak about, or just that you think that would help out the community? Right now, we currently have 8 people. I mean, it's a lot better than when we originally started going live. I think at one point we were lucky if we would get like 1 or 2 people. So now our numbers are 8 might not seem like a lot, but to me it is a lot, because those are 8 people more than we had a few weeks back. So I'm glad people are interested in listening to these conversations. There's a lot more that we want to offer, that we're kind of brainstorming, just to try to get into, in your hands, when it comes to either, family members passing away and how to deal with that, how to communicate that with them, or if you have a loved one with packaging or whatnot, how you could place orders, if you need like a walkthrough, or just locating people. Just like we're trying to offer something a little bit different than everybody else is it's offering. I kind of want to carve out our own lane. I just necessarily don't want to be talking about putting in work all the time. I mean, yeah, those war stories are fun, and I'm sure everybody likes to hear them, or people like to repeat them. But I think there's more to prison than stabbings and who could hoop the biggest cell phone.
Right. Definitely that, and that's kind of the thing that's kind of thing. Like we've been talking about topics, like getting on here and speaking about relationships, behind the wall, like not just romantic but platonic relationships. The effects how it affects the inmate, how it the resident, if you will, how it affects the people out there that are actually doing this time with us. We talked about putting a day together so that we could discuss daily life in prison. Because a lot of people think, like you said, they just hear about stabbings, they hear about gang life in here, they hear about all this crazy stuff, but they don't really hear what a normal day
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
of a productive resident. You know what I mean? Like some of us, we got a full day in here. Most of the guys that you talk to on this podcast, that you come up in here, that you have on this page, we have a full day. And we're talking about what a daily life in prison looks like for us, what a week looks like, a month looks like for us, to give people a perspective of what prison isn't the prison that you guys just see on TV. There's a lot more going on. It's a sub city. It's a sub world, and it's just not all craziness and BS. There's a lot of good going on in here. This place is preparing us to be neighbors, to live next door to people out in society. And so people would like, a lot of people, well, how can these murderers, these gang members, these drug addicts, these criminals go in there and come out better after 25 years? If anything, they're coming out worse, and so we're talking about what daily life looks like for us in here that are actually positively programming and taking advantage of the opportunities that CDCR is giving us now. Talking about maybe speaking about parenting behind bars. Because maybe there's a baby's mom out there. Maybe there's kids and the people that grew up out there because their parents were in prison their whole life. Or just people that could might want to know what it entails being a parent behind bars, or what it's like. So we thought about that. Mental health is a big thing out there in society now, and it's a big thing in here because in minority culture, mental health is it's kind of like it's a stigma. People never really spoke about it. I know in our culture, in Hispanic culture, it's like, oh, you didn't ask for help. You didn't. There was anything wrong with you, then you were weak or you were soft, and things like that. So like the thought of thinking, oh, I'm dealing with depression, I'm dealing with this, I'm dealing with anxiety, things like that. It's never spoken about because it's frowned upon. You know what I mean? Like if you're a man, you suck it up and keep on pushing and stuff like that. And same thing with black cultures. Like you. So it's the same thing in here. Mental health in here was frowned upon. Like you never were allowed to see no psych. You're never allowed to take medication. And like when I was involved in the gang life and the gang culture in the mainline, and I still don't take medication. But if I need to go speak with somebody because of whatever I'm going through, I have no problem going and seeing a therapist or seeing, even though they don't offer much of that right here in these prisons, like that are in the sun, like in these hot prisons, they don't offer a whole lot of mental health programs, But they do offer a lot of programs to where we don't have to go to see the psych or anything like that. But it should be, should always be an option. And so we were just talking about things like that, because like I said, mental health's a big thing out there now in society. People are starting to understand that they don't have to face all their problems alone, and it's the same thing in here. People are starting to understand. That's why we build our communities. That's why, Ricky and Silas and some of these guys that you talk to, like these are friends of mine, you know what I mean? And if I'm ever dealing with something, I know I can go to them, so that I'm not sitting here just stomaching all these problems that I'm dealing with or having to deal with, mental health issues on my own. Everybody stresses out, everybody hurts, everybody deals with things, and because I have friends like that, or so these are just topics that we thought about, putting together to and establishing, some questions and things like that, and basically just giving these people a better a better look inside our heads and our hearts, so that they know that they're not just talking to another inmate, that we're men, we're human, and we deal with all the same problems that everybody out there is dealing with, and
And thank you for sharing that, Jesse. I know we're kind of short on time right now, but I definitely don't want to ignore our supporters here. We have a message from Nunez_family blog, and he puts what up G tapping in. And then let me see, who else do we have? And then Mad Max 408 put, that's awesome to hear, Jesse. And then Nunez_family blog is putting hit that like button, y'all. Definitely, we want you to go ahead and hit that like button. And then let me see, Ramon put, cool, just made it in time for the live chat. And then let me see, here we go. And then Ramon also puts, thanks, best wishes to you, Jesse, and your family. And then Nunez_family blog put it, it's cool. We get it. You're learning as you go. And then Nunez also_family blog put, any spooky October stories. I think the spooky stories we're gonna have to hold off till our next conversation. I'll give Jesse some time to think about that, and I'm pretty sure he could come up with some spooky prison stories.
That's right.
And in M Star Media, it's she put appreciate it. Let me see. Oh, and then she put, M-Star put after he's asking about the spooky stories, he put, I have a good one. I heard about a haunted hotel in Colorado. And let me see. And then Ramon is putting, just to let you know, guys, I'm 30 years old and I'm from the city of Pacoima. I'm from a hood. All right, nothing
You
wrong
have
with that.
60 seconds remaining.
And then let me see. M-Star put 44 in Santa Clarita, and I record the LASD. So I looked it up her channel, and she does I think it's called auditing, when you're like there and the cops are like pulling somebody over and you're recording them, and then so I just want to go ahead and pretty much just thank everybody. I know this call is gonna cut off, and I just don't. I would hate for Jesse to be cut off without actually giving his goodbye. So go ahead and hang that off to you, Jesse.
That's right. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you guys listening. Thank you for your support, and I appreciate you for giving us this platform. And like I said, I look forward to our next conversation, and hopefully we can get into a spooky story or answer some of you guys' questions. If you talk to Silas, send him my love. Tell him I said I seen the Eagles do their thing right now on TV, and I know he's excited about it.
All right, I think the call got cut off. So yeah, so I just want to go ahead and give my thanks to you guys for tapping in. I know you guys could be doing many other things, watching other YouTube content or whatnot. I appreciate you guys taking time out of your day to listen to these conversations, and I truly believe these are conversations that we definitely have to put out there, and you guys should hear, because it's not all guns and glory. There's other things that happen behind all these acts that people commit, and hopefully it helps somebody from making that those type of mistakes, without having to go and spend 20, 30 years in prison, and then you figure out, like, damn, what, I didn't even know what I was signing up for, and now I'm here. I'm an old man, and most of my life is passed me up. Anyhow, I'm kind of ranting now. I'm gonna go ahead and cut it off now. I should be back shortly. As soon as Silas calls me, I'll go ahead and get on live. So if you don't have that notification enabled, go ahead and enable it. If not, just tap in every few minutes, and we should be back online. Okay, you guys go ahead and have a good night, and see you guys soon.